just 6 months, The Rock has gone from being one of the most universally loved figures in Hollywood and wrestling to getting booed in packed arenas, roasted across social media, and losing over 2 million followers on Instagram. His mega-budget Christmas movie Red 1, which was supposed to be a guaranteed blockbuster, flopped so badly that Amazon skipped a wide theatrical release and quietly dumped it on streaming. Then, in what should have been a triumphant WWE comeback, he was met with backlash so intense fans actually turned on him in real time. And just when people thought things couldn't get any weirder, he posted a photo of himself completely transformed, bloated, bearded, and broken, playing a washed-up MMA fighter in a grim A24 biopic that no one really asked for. So now, people are looking around and asking the obvious question, what happened? How did the most bankable star in Hollywood, the man who built an empire off charisma and consistency, suddenly become one of the most polarizing figures in pop culture? This isn't just a bad month or a failed movie. It's a full-blown identity crisis, playing out on the biggest stage possible. The Red One on paper had everything. Chris Evans, a massive budget, holiday timing, and The Rock leading the charge. But the film, which cost over $250 million to make, barely registered with audiences. Reviews were harsh, buzz was non-existent, and instead of getting a proper theatrical rollout, Amazon quietly moved it to Prime Video, hoping no one would notice the damage. People did, and for the first time in a long time, The Rock's name wasn't drawing crowds, but it was raising eyebrows. The Red One was just one domino in a chain of public missteps. Before that, there was Black Adam, the DC superhero project Johnson hyped for years, promising fans that the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. Except it didn't. The film underperformed, the critics were unimpressed, and when James Gunn took over DC's creative direction, he made it clear that Black Adam wasn't part of the future plans. Johnson, instead of addressing it head-on, posted a vague statement about agreeing to disagree, and just moved on like none of it ever happened. That's the pattern people are starting to see now. When things go wrong, Johnson doesn't really address them. He smiles, posts something motivational on Instagram, holds up a Zoa can, and pretends everything's fine. But the audience isn't buying that act anymore. Fans who used to cheer him unconditionally are now starting to question whether any of it was ever genuine, and nowhere has that disconnect been more obvious than in his recent return to WWE. For years, fans begged for The Rock to come back and have one more match. Maybe against Roman Reigns, maybe to crown a new star. And when he finally returned in 2024, people were expecting magic. But instead of enhancing what was already a red-hot storyline, he inserted himself directly into the main event picture, derailing Cody Rhodes' emotional comeback and essentially hijacking the spotlight. What made it worse was that fans had been invested in Cody's journey for over a year. His story, which centered around finishing the legacy his father started, was one of the best long-term arcs WWE had developed in decades. And when The Rock walked in and immediately became the focal point, fans weren't just disappointed, they were furious. During live events, instead of the usual earth-shaking ovations, The Rock was met with a chorus of boos. He tried to adapt by cutting heel promos, calling fans crybabies and mocking their reactions. But it didn't land the way he thought it would. Instead of generating excitement, it only amplified the backlash. It was one of the first times The Rock looked visibly uncomfortable in a wrestling ring, and that's saying a lot, considering how effortlessly he used to own every crowd he walked into. And this wasn't just a bad promo or a misread of the audience, it revealed something deeper, that The Rock's relationship with his fan base had changed. Once seen as authentic, grounded, and in touch, he now came across as someone more concerned with controlling narratives than connecting with people. His sudden appearance on WWE's board of directors didn't help that perception either. What should have felt like a triumphant return home felt more like a corporate takeover, with Johnson being framed less as a hero and more as a guy trying to muscle his way into the spotlight again. At the same time all of this was happening, Rock began teasing his role in The Smashing Machine, a gritty biopic from A24 where he plays troubled MMA fighter Mark Kerr. The transformation was startling. He gained weight, grew a beard, and ditched the polished look we've come to associate with him. The photos shocked people not because of how he looked, but because of how far he was suddenly willing to go to break out of his own mold. For a guy who built his entire brand around being indestructible, always in shape, always on top, seeing him portray a broken, drug-addicted fighter was jarring. And it begs the question, is this reinvention coming from a place of creative growth or desperation? Because let's be honest, The Rock has always been strategic. His moves are calculated, his brand is airtight. But this pivot into serious, emotionally heavy material feels abrupt. He didn't ease into dramatic roles or gradually shift his image. He went from blockbuster king to Oscar hopeful almost overnight, and the whiplash has been real. Fans who followed him for his charm, his humor, and his larger-than-life confidence are now watching him wrestle with personal demons on screen, often without warning or context. It's not just about the smashing machine either. It's about the broader narrative arc of The Rock himself. He's not the box office guarantee he once was. He's not the universally adored WWE legend he once was. He's not even the social media icon he once was, considering the follower drop and the increasing cynicism in his comments section. What we're witnessing isn't just a career shift, but a full-blown public identity crisis, and it's starting to hurt his credibility. Stories have emerged from film sets about Johnson being difficult to work with, showing up late, needing custom gym equipment flown to every location, and refusing to appear weak or lose fights on camera. There's been talk of creative clashes with co-stars, conflicts with producers, and even studio hesitations about giving him too much control. When you're making hundreds of millions at the box office, people will tolerate that. But when your projects start underperforming, that tolerance disappears quickly. Even the motivational persona, once beloved, is starting to feel overplayed. People don't want to hear about 4 a.m. workouts and cheap meals when your movies are flopping and your wrestling comeback is getting booed. It feels disconnected from reality. Fans want vulnerability, not branding. And the more he leans into hustle culture, the more he alienates the very people who used to support him. So now he's caught in a strange limbo. He can't go back to being just the wrestler. He can't keep churning out safe blockbusters that nobody's excited about. And he hasn't proven yet that he can fully cross over into the dramatic acting space and thrive there. The Rock is being pulled in too many directions, and none of them feel fully authentic anymore. To be clear, reinvention isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's necessary for longevity, but reinvention has to come from within, not just from optics. The most successful actors who transitioned into more serious roles, guys like Matthew McConaughey or even Ben Affleck, did so because they embraced a version of themselves that felt real. Right now, The Rock's transformation feels more like a reaction to failure than a true evolution. Like he's trying to fix something he doesn't fully understand yet. And if he's not careful, this identity crisis could swallow everything he's built. Because once the audience stops believing in you, once they sense that you're no longer walking your talk, it's very hard to win them back. The Rock may still have millions of followers, box office credits, and global fame, but those things are starting to feel hollow, without the connection that made him beloved in the first place. So yes, The Rock is not The Rock anymore. Not the one who ruled Hollywood, not the one who electrified WWE, and definitely not the one who could post a selfie and instantly go viral for all the right reasons. The question now is, who is he becoming? And will we still care when he gets there?